I get in there and I put out content. You gotta get out there and just dish out content. Just get it out there. Content!
All the noise you see every day, the content you're swiping through and the marketing gurus telling you to hustle, it can become discouraging. It can become overwhelming to figure out where to start with content. Fortunately for me, what started as a plot to drum up business for my studio became a creative outlet for me to explore what I do and share what I know. I'm going to share with you how I generate ideas, my whole thought process behind creating content, as well as my setup for making it all frictionless and not getting overwhelmed with the process of tripods and this, that, the other. I created my first piece of content in 2014 when my business launched, and here's just a little clip of it.
Channel, and this is a sound piece of advice. Rely on your ear and not the gear.
Creating content at that time was stressful. I had to pull out the tripod, set up the light. It was all clunky. Nothing ever connected properly. The lighting was always off. I was always not in center of frame. And then I had to do all the editing and fix it all. And it was a lengthy process. And at the end of it, when you finish up with 20, 30 views, you wonder why? Why did I go through all of that? You lose the intention behind the actual product you're putting together. Questioning yourself is something I see a lot of other engineers and producers doing when it comes to creating content. They ask, why bother doing this? And the reality is, if your intention was like mine in the beginning, as to use content as a vessel to drum up business, to take, to get, to bring in from others, it ends up becoming a sort of tail chasing experience which isn't fulfilling in the least. Instead of looking to create content that seeks to take from others in terms of what can I get from this? Can I get more clients? Can I get more business? Can I grow creating this? Seek to ask this question first. Will somebody be better off? Will somebody else be better off having consumed this content? This is a question I ask myself now because when I put something together, I want somebody to engage in it and leave better off. Okay? If you focus on the person who watches something, reads something, learns something, and improving their life from it, it's going to become much more rewarding experience. Number one, you get to explore more of what you do, understand your craft more deeply, and in the process you get to help others, which creates a deeper connection with your community around you. To explore more of this concept, it could be a whole video in and of itself, but I highly recommend reading the book Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. This book details the process behind sharing your creativity through detailing the process of your work. And when you're able to tell your story, share your knowledge, show your experiences, the process of creating content pivots from being a chore that feels overwhelming to becoming a passion where you're just engaging with what you do every day. And for me, generating ideas is something as simple as just having a pen and a paper. And throughout the day, if something occurs, if a conversation happens, if something happens in a session which really resonates with me, which really, how do I put it, excites me and is like, wow, that's a lot of fun. That's why I love doing my job. I write that down on the list. And then at the end of every week, I come back around to that list. And if any of those moments still resonate with me, I'll decide whether it's worth or not worth creating some content about that for other people to engage with. And if I'm going to run with any of these, I'm going to ask myself a few questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually run through the questions I asked myself when I was creating this piece of content, this video about creating content. Okay, so here are the questions I asked myself. Goal. What growth objective is this driving towards? For me, it's to help other engineers and producers create content. Is it clear? Have a clear context set up in the title. It's good to ask a question or address a big pain point. So for me, the title of this video you're watching is Frictionless Content Creation for Mixing Engineers and Producers. The pain point is the friction in terms of creating content. The topic is content creation itself, and the audience are mixing engineers and producers. What am I learning? 3 to 5 things. Make sure there are clear takeaways behind this video. The why behind this content and the why behind how you create content and generate ideas is an important takeaway that you're going to be getting from this video. The setup, what gear I use, the interface, and the output, I'm going to be showing you that later on in the video too. Edit down and supplement. Well, I want you to be able to pull from aspects of this video which resonate most with you. So I've included links to all the things that I'm talking about in the description below. And call to action. Well, I want you guys to be able to take this information when you finish watching this video and create a system for yourself. Adopt some of the principles I share, further research some of the mentioned content, or Frankenstein a mixture of it all. And lastly, subscribing to this channel. You sort of get what I'm getting at there. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, because that's part of the growth of this channel, is connecting with more people who share these ideas. Now, with this brief filled out, I actually have a good idea, good context and understanding about what I need to explore, how I can help others through that exploration, and begin piecing together my video and shooting content. And that gets us to the next point, shooting. The next friction point most engineers and producers have is shooting the content, because it's not a technology that we're closely familiar with, filming and videography. So last year I set out to create a completely static setup which is frictionless, which is just always plugged in, ready to go, minimizes the amount of color grading I need to do, opening up of tripods and big light boxes, something simple, something small, efficient, quick, and looks great, sounds great, minimizes my time in post-production. I was inspired to do this by DSLR shooters. They have a video on a one stand desk sort of setup for vlogging or YouTube streaming and whatnot, and I sort of took some of the aspects of that and started to do some research into camera gear to develop one of my own. And basically the setup revolves around two small rig clamps, one holding my Canon EOS M50 with a Rode video mic, and another behind my monitor using a Yongnuo YN300 for a key light. Now, my key light runs at 5500 Kelvin, and this is really important because my downlights in the studio are also 5500 Kelvin. What this means is all my light sources are set at the same color, which means in post-production I have to do very little color grading. Everything is just spot on where it has to be. The Canon M50 is set up with a f-stop 1.4 Sigma 16mm lens, and the reason being is that low f-stop means I don't get as much noise from this dark background, and also just cleaner depth of fields are nice and just looks good and better, and just minimize the amount of post-production I have to do. Now, this whole setup is connected via USB into OBS on my desktop. That captures everything, my DAW, my DAW audio, my camera feed, my camera audio. It has everything go into there. It's all laid out. So then when I want to film content, I take it, shoot it, and it's 99% done. All that's left is to do jump cuts and edit out any silences or bad takes throughout it. Simple. And I also recently created an OBS setup at 1080 by 1920 resolution for TikTok, so I can quickly create TikTok reels, and that exports to a folder which syncs with my phone, and it's like literally all done within 10 minutes. I've created a really good high quality TikTok with DAW audio. Now, technically you don't need a setup like this, but as much as you can do on your phone itself, there's still the bottleneck of having to cut and publish what you're putting together. So what that means is that the more you can get done up front, the cleaner the video you can capture, the cleaner the audio you can capture, the way you can compartmentalize it in OBS and capture it with your screen capture and already have that all synced up at the same frame rate, means that there's less work to do afterwards. And less work to do afterwards is good, because then you won't exhaust yourself doing video editing, because that's not really why we got into this game. Sharing content is a passion, and we're audio people, we're engineers and producers who love creating records, and video is just sort of secondary. So minimizing that latter part by having a good setup up front is a real investment on not wasting too much time in this space, because you want to be creative, you want to be productive creating videos, but you don't necessarily want it to be a never-ending pit of time when you have more important things to focus on in your business in terms of creating awesome records for your clients. Ultimately, I hope some of this resonates with you, no pun intended, to create something, to put yourself out there and showcase your talent, your creativity to the world, to other musicians, to other creatives. Also, if you'd like to, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. Until next time, take care.